Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Monday, March 6th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. Busy show today. We open by talking Missouri basketball. The Tigers put a bow on the regular season with a tense victory over Ole Miss on Saturday, and they played their way into a double bye of the SEC tournament for the first time. That's right, Mizzou is seeded fourth and doesn't play until the quarterfinals on Friday in Nashville. It's been a fantastic season for the Tigers and first-year coach Dennis Gates, who put together this team with very few returning players. Beat writer Matt Stahl of the Columbia Tribune and I discuss where Missouri goes from here. After a break, Star reporter Pete Grathoff and I have a conversation about Travis Kelce, the actor. Travis was the host of the most recent Saturday Night Live, and Pete and I agreed he was terrific. We break down his performance and wonder about his post-football career. Okay, let's get started talking Mizzou with Matt Stahl. Matt, we're recording this on Saturday, so you just a couple hours after you watched Missouri defeat Ole Miss in a game that was closer than I anticipated, but I think I could say that about both games Missouri played this week at LSU and against Ole Miss on Senior Day. But I want to talk to you about the games today, this week, and this season in general for the Tigers. Let's start with breaking just a quick thought on today. Looked like Missouri was about to pull away late in the first half, and then all of a sudden it's a 5-point game at the break, and then it's nip and tuck throughout the entire second half with Missouri not feeling comfortable until like the last couple of seconds.
Yeah, it just felt like Missouri just kept making it harder on themselves than it needed to be today, I think was my takeaway. Because, I mean, they went to Oxford and beat this team, obviously, before they changed coaches there. But, like, just on paper, they should have beat this team by a whole lot more than they did. But, you know, I guess that's March, I think, is my only real takeaway from that one. Ole Miss seemed at times like they were playing pretty inspired basketball. Missouri just never seemed to have that stretch where they pulled away, but, you know, they were able to do without.
Yeah, I kept waiting for that, you know, that 14-2 run for the Tigers that I didn't see, but they did. They did have a couple of really nice runs in the second half earlier this week when they went down to LSU. Another game that Missouri was favored, and not by much, but I think by 4. But gosh, they struggled to pull away from LSU at the end. And as good a season this has been for Missouri, is there any reason to feel a little concerned about the closeness of two games against opponents we thought they had an opportunity to overwhelm going into the SEC tournament?
Yeah, I think so. I'm more likely to throw a line through the LSU game just because they were shooting so well from 3 in that first half. And, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was writing the game story as if they were going to come back, like starting at halftime, just because it didn't seem like LSU was going to be able to keep up that shooting. But, yeah, today I think maybe was a little bit more concerning. Now I'll say, it might be good to throw out a few clunkers that you manage to get through now than you'd rather have that today than in the SEC tournament. But yeah, we'll see. It feels like Missouri needs to get back to that way they were playing sort of earlier in the year where you go have that 14-2 run and you kind of are able to run away with it a little bit, get a little action for Ben Sternberg, Jackson Francois in there.
Right. The Victory Cigar Brigade for the Tigers. Listen, here we are nitpicking Missouri victories, which means the Tigers are in a really good place if that's the case. And the win today makes them 11-7 in the SEC, 23 and I believe 9 overall. Those are both match high water marks for their SEC tenure, 11 years in the SEC. Most overall wins was 23, most conference wins 11, so they've matched that. They are a double bye seed for the first time. They're going to be the 4 seed in the SEC tournament, which means for the first time they don't play on Wednesday or Thursday. They don't play until Friday, I believe, at 2:00 is their start time against an opponent that has to play their way into Missouri's bracket. So that's a great place for the Tigers to be, and it really has been an unexpected and delightful season for Missouri to have them play their way into this position, to play in front of full houses at Mizzou Arena or near full houses. I know I haven't seen that on a regular basis in quite a while. So let me get your thoughts on the helicopter view of the Missouri basketball season. I know we can and we will microcosm it to death as as postseason approaches, but just kind of where we are today with this Missouri basketball team with a new coach, almost an entirely new roster, not great expectations. How about bottom lining this season for the Tigers?
First of all, I believe that by getting the double bye, haven't they already equaled their longest run in the SEC basketball tournament?
That's exactly right.
I think that's true. Yeah. Just on a personal level, when I started interviewing for this job at the Tribune last February, and you tune into the Mizzou basketball games and kind of just keep an eye on what was going on because I sort of figured I'd be here. Man, it looked miserable in the Mizzou arena. It looked like nobody gets into sports writing to write about terrible basketball in empty arenas, and that's exactly what was happening. So, I wasn't expecting a whole lot from Mizzou this season, and Dennis has made a point that really nobody in the media corps was really expecting much from Mizzou this season. But here they are to the point where after the game today, Dennis was asked about getting that double bye in the tournament. He's like, we fell short of our goal this season. I wanted to win the SEC in the regular season. I don't think anybody else feels like Mizzou fell short of any goals this season. I mean, you looked around after the game during the senior day ceremony, and I said this on Twitter. I think there were more people here for that than there were for just any game last season. It's night and day, and it's I get texts from a lot of my friends who cover other programs around the country. Like, is this for real? Are we just missing something on Missouri? Is it some sort of Mickey Mouse offense or something that nobody's figured out yet? I don't think it is. I think he just put together a really solid team, figured out fan engagement, which, I mean, spoiler, a big part of fan engagement is winning games. And yeah, it's a good time in Mizzou Arena.
For sure. And look, I don't know if he's going to win SEC Coach of the Year because of the job that Nate Oates did, the way he's handled the Brandon Miller situation notwithstanding, but I think it'll be between those two, and I think Dennis Gates deserves very strong consideration for SEC Coach of the Year. And I would look. It was certainly coach speak to suggest that it's falling short of a goal of finishing fourth, which has never happened for them. They were tied for fourth one year in the SEC, but that. I think they were a fifth or a sixth seed in the SEC tournament that year. They've never been the 4 seed. So it has been outstanding. And you know what? College basketball is a transfer sport now. Seems like every team has 4, 5, 6, 7 transfers, and every team gets a chance to really start over every year. And maybe no team started over more than Missouri did. They had a great returning player in Kobe Brown, all SEC player, great foundation player to start with. But, as we all know, this is a team of transfers. Some from his Cleveland State team that he coached the previous 3 years, but also from Milwaukee and Clemson and Northern Iowa and Missouri State and the junior college ranks. And that was my skepticism on Missouri coming into this year wasn't based on, his coaching. He did a great job at Cleveland State. I thought he would eventually win. It was how can a new coach put together a team with an entirely new roster and make it work in the conference of Tennessee, Kentucky, Auburn, Alabama, etc. And it's really been a fantastic job by Dennis Gates. Coaching and assembling, being the general manager and the coach of this team. What were your thoughts on Missouri going into this year based on just the all the newcomers?
Yeah, when you look at it just from a just stars perspective, right, which is a great way to look at things, but they didn't have that team full of like 4 and 5-star dudes. And you heard Dennis say things like, oh, I was more concerned about the way this team fits together. Everybody's here. It's like a piece in a puzzle. And I kind of dismissed it offhand, honestly. It's just, well, that's what you say when you can't get a team full of 4 and 5 stars is you start trying to put the puzzle together. But he wasn't lying this time. It's a team. It's almost the polar opposite of the way those Coach Cal teams were at Kentucky for a lot of years, where, he might not have like sort of the glitzy names on this team, but everybody fits together so well. And everybody's just played so much college basketball that there's not a whole lot that rattles them. Like, I don't think a team even full of 4 and 5-star freshmen wins this game today, wins that LSU game, wins that Tennessee game. Like, there's a few of those where this team has just time and time again shown the ability to take a few punches and still win, just partly based off of experience. Guys are very good towards the end of games here.
I think that's a great point, that when we talk about the transfers that came to Missouri this year, they weren't guys who, were unhappy where they were as freshmen and decided to look, start their college careers and look around. These were all just almost entirely guys in their 3rd, 4th year of playing college basketball. And as evidenced by, you tell me, how many players were acknowledged on senior day after the game today?
Yeah, it was 9 guys acknowledged for senior day. And now Dennis pointed out, like, that doesn't necessarily mean all of them aren't coming back. There were 4 who've completely exhausted eligibility in Ben Sternberg, who doesn't play very much, Trey Gamillion, Demoy Hodge, and DeAndre Golston. But still, that's just a ton of experience. It's guys in their 4th, 5th academic year who've just been around the block and have been able to do some great things in Missouri, especially, Kobe Brown didn't commit one way or the other whether he's coming back.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do we have a sense of the other ones who were acknowledged today and honored on senior day? And any good guesses on who might be back and who will dip the toe in the water?
Yeah, I really don't know. Dennis, when he was asked about it this week, said he's not even wanting to have conversations about that till the end of the season, till it's all over.
Right.
You can believe that if you want to. We'll see. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kobe Brown like this for this to be his last game at Missouri, but we'll see. Maybe he figures out like another year of development. His game legitimately got better this season. You look at the way he was able to start shooting the 3 ball a lot of the year. Like that's a skill NBA teams would love to have. And if he can continue, if he sees a few other parts of his game where he's like, maybe I can improve this with another year of instruction at Missouri, who knows? We'll see.
No, you're right. Kobe, the 3 game, the perimeter game was not part of Kobe Brown's game previously, and it was in a bigger way this year. And I think he's absolutely increased his value because of that. We'll see where we'll see if he has a big decision to make after the season. Okay, got a sense on how this team could do in Nashville next week? What they've beaten teams like they've beaten Tennessee and Kentucky, and Alabama handled them pretty easily in Columbia. But no, they've stood up to some of the best in the SEC this year, and they're the 4 seed. So and they would only have to play 3 games to win this thing. But what's your sense going into it?
My sense at this point is I think they could beat just about anybody on the right night. Like if they play Alabama, Texas A&M, teams like that, like if they had to play them 10 times, they might lose 8 of those games. But like they'll get them a couple times if a few guys are able to get hot. They're able to. They don't even have to play their style some of the time, but especially if they're able to sort of push the pace, get those points they love to score, get it, don't get just absolutely taken to the cleaners on the board and are able to find possessions in other ways, get some steals, etc. Like, yeah, I mean, this could be a team makes a run to the semifinals, finals of the tournament. I don't think I'd expect them to win it. I think I'm still pretty firmly in Alabama's corner on that, but we'll see. You feel a whole lot better about it now than you would have at the beginning of the season.
No doubt about it. No doubt. Matt Stahl for the Columbia Tribune, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll do this again another time.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, this is Blair. There are several ways to access the Star Sports section. Let me tell you about a couple of them. There is Sports Pass. For $12.99 a month, you get unlimited digital access to all of the Star Sports content, including beat writing, columns, features, pretty much everything we write. The deal renews monthly until you tell us to cancel. For $159.99 a year, you get everything the Star has to offer digitally, including sports and the e-edition. Go to kansascity.com and drop down to the bottom of the page where it says Start a Subscription for more information. Your support has never been more important. As always, thanks for reading and listening. Pete Grathoff, Star reporter, is joining us, and we're talking about Travis Kelce's performance on Saturday Night Live. I don't know how you felt going into it, Pete. I was just hoping that he could rise to the level of some of the other athletes that have been on SNL. Peyton Manning pretty easily comes to mind, but I'm old enough to remember, when Michael Jordan and Joe Montana and even Chris Everett were on SNL as guest hosts. So it's Travis Kelce's turn. He's not, I don't know if he's got the national name that some of those other athletes have, but seeing him, on the field at training camp, in the locker room over the years, I know he's got a big personality, and I thought that came through in a major way Saturday. What did you think?
I completely agree. We've also seen him on the post-game after they go to the Super Bowl, fight for your right to party.
On the podium, yeah.
Yeah, he's a big personality. I think everyone who follows the Chiefs is a fan realizes that. And I'm with you about didn't know what to expect going in. It's a big deal to have an athlete kind of have to, headline a sketch show for 90 minutes. That's a long time. And there's a lot of opportunities to have, a letdown, a breakdown, whatever. But I just thought he did a fantastic job. He was great. Some of those skits in the beginning particularly were really funny, and he was good.
Look, everybody's got their own sense of humor, and they'll determine what they like, what they don't like. But just based on audience reaction, he got big laughs from the monologue on. And I got to tell you, I kept waiting for a skit in which he wouldn't appear, and I don't know if I found one. He was like in every one of them. It was amazing how much they worked him. I wrote them down with the names of the skits, at least as they appear on YouTube. And he was, after the monologue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 skits. That's a lot of work. That's a big workload for somebody for anybody, but for somebody who's never acted professionally like this. So I'm with you, Pete. I thought he was outstanding. And look, as a football player, he's got to be able to make judgments and improvise and at the highest level of sports. And I think that skill translates in this case, right? It's a live TV show, one of the very few on television. I don't remember him, missing a beat or losing it in laughter. I know there was once or twice he was, kind of stifling a giggle, but again, I just thought his performance very football-like in terms of overall success.
Absolutely. He was spot on with most of those skits for sure. And like you said, they did work him a lot. And after doing that monologue, going back to that for a second, I thought he did a wonderful job of, if you didn't know who Travis Kelce was, he really introduced himself, why he would be on that show, 2-time Super Bowl champion. And he poked fun at his brother. He poked fun at himself for his troubles at Cincinnati and in high school. And that's really a disarming way, I think, to get people to like you. But after, I mean, so he does the monologue and he goes straight into that American Girl skit. There's not a lot of time between, those commercial breaks may seem long when you're watching them, but I can't imagine as an actor or an athlete actor having to change into different costumes and get your mind right for this kind of skit, because each skit was different, although he did play kind of a creepy guy in a lot of them, which was kind of funny.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that I thought tied the skits together were like non-football. It wasn't about Kelce as a football player or as a Kansas City Chief. It was, mostly as a big hunking dude, right? In some of the creep, of course, in the first one, but straight male friend, Garrett from Hinge, Mama's Funeral, Abby the ex-girlfriend. Those are the skit names. He was the big hunky guy, right? In a lot of them. So he was playing a role that, in his previous acting experience, he was the, Catching Kelce. He was the kind of a Bachelor sort of show that was on, cable network E. That was the role that he was kind of played often on Saturday Night Live. Let's take a moment too to acknowledge Heidi Gardner, who who's the Kansas City native and regular cast member who this was her brainstorm. If I recall our reporting on this from Sharon Hoffman and others, she was the one that got Kelce on the show. Wanted I think originally a Mahomes Kelce duo, but ended up getting Travis Kelce, and the guy just knocked it, as far as I'm concerned, knocked it out of the park. Did you have a favorite skit?
I think the Kurt Lightning, the self-defense, that just took a really weird turn, a lot of different turns left and right, but that was probably my favorite. He was kind of not your usual self-defense guru, as you might say, but he got the point across to those guys on the show. I thought that was probably my favorite. How about you?
Mine was Straight Male Friend. I just this one I appreciated because I thought Bowen Yang was really good in it too. He's one of my favorite cast members. I think he's just a great comedic mind, and he was the key in that skit. But Kelce's performance there was just great. I thought that was the best acting that he did was in that skit. If you look on YouTube, like I said, I got all the names of the skits from just typing in YouTube SNL and Travis Kelce. The Straight Male Friend is the one that's gotten the most traction. It's almost 1 million views now, and the others are between 500,000 and 1 million. But Straight Male Friend is the one that I guess resonated with people. It must be people in the gay community, I suppose. But the comments are hilarious on it as well. That was another thing that, and I know you're working on a story about this, Pete. The reviews for the show, pretty solid, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I was really interested to see what television critics had to say, because Chiefs fans were going to love it either way. Let's be honest. But yeah, he's gotten good reviews so far. Everything I've seen has been positive. He did also act once before in a TV show called Moonbase 8 with John C. Reilly and Fred Armisen, which was on Showtime.
That's right.
And I happened to see that one episode he was in, and I thought he was great in that too. He just played a prima donna athlete, kind of playing himself, but who just belittled John C. Reilly throughout. I think he's got a future in acting, or maybe hosting a game show one day, if that's what he should choose to do. I think he did a tremendous job. And so did the critics. He thought so too.
So maybe taking the Jim Brown route, huh? Just maybe stopping the career a little early and going out on top. Then Jim Brown, of course, became a great actor. And Dirty Dozen was my favorite movie of his. But I don't know. I think Kelce will probably play for another 2-3 years. And then, but you're right. He has to. I think he has to go into acting, right? I mean, this isn't a future coach. This is a future actor.
I agree with you there. And I think that was one of the smart things about him doing it solo without Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes obviously is the most popular player in the most popular sport in the country, and he would have generated the majority of the headlines. By having Travis do it by himself, I just think this really showcased him for what he can do going forward in the future. And I really thought he did a wonderful job, and I think I'd love to see him host again or maybe do something else.
Yeah, now that I mentioned it, I wonder if an athlete has returned as a host. Did Peyton Manning ever come back a second time? I just don't know. As much as I do watch the show, but I can't remember, all million episodes of it.
I don't believe anyone has come back. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm with you. I don't know enough of the history of the show, but and I don't know that he would. Like you mentioned, it was Heidi Gardner's idea to do this, and Lisa Gutierrez had a really good interview with her. Her idea for that. Also, she's going to be a big slick hostess.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That she's going to, joining Paul Rudd and Rob Riggle, the cast, right? The usual, the old big slick cast. So that's very cool. She's going to be a host of this as well. So, all right. Well, look forward to your story about it, Pete, and thanks for spending some time talking to us about this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Blair.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to our producer, Randy Mason, for putting together today's show, and to our SportsBeat KC staff of Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, and Scott Chasen. Tip of the cap to Matt Stahl of the Columbia Tribune, and to our Pete Grathoff for sharing their insights. Today's morning sports edition was packed with college basketball, auto racing, the NBA, NHL, spring training, and always NFL news. You got to check it out at liveedition.kansascity.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City every day.